How many bitcoins should you own to be rich? Well, today we're gonna answer this question. Also, if you enjoy our content, remember to leave a like and subscribe. This is iFinance, so let's get into it. How many bitcoins should you own? Well, first of all, you need to ask yourself what are your financial goals with Bitcoin. If you're simply a regular investor, I would say own 1 to 10% of your investment portfolio in Bitcoin and gold and just be done with it. However, if what you want to be is rich, then let's define that term first. So, according to studies, a New Yorker who earns about 500k is usually considered rich. So, put differently, we can multiply this figure by 15 and then the result would be that anyone with a net worth of $7.77 million is typically considered to be rich. After all, a simple dividend fund that yields roughly 7% per year would produce an annual dividend income of roughly $500,000 per year. So, with 7.77 million today, you could easily live off the dividends, so I think this is a reasonable estimate of what rich means. So how many bitcoins should you own then? Well, in theory, you should possess enough bitcoins to reach the $7.77 million net worth. Luckily, this is actually very easy to calculate. However, we first need to assume a terminal value for Bitcoin in the future. In other words, we need an estimate of what Bitcoin could be worth if the investment thesis plays out. Most people think that a $10 million Bitcoin is entirely possible under the right circumstances. This is because Bitcoin is still incredibly small when compared to other assets out there. As you can see in the image, global debt, real estate, money supply, stock markets, and gold put together are worth approximately $1.14 quadrillion. Yes, that's a quadrillion with a Q. So if Bitcoin grows to even just 20% of that figure, then that would imply a market capitalization of $228 trillion for Bitcoin. This would mean that Bitcoin would be potentially 1,000 times bigger than it is today. Therefore, each Bitcoin could be worth up to $16.6 million. However, for the sake of simplicity, let's round that down to $10 million per Bitcoin. That would mean that you have to have at least 0.77 Bitcoins today, so that if Bitcoin reaches the $10 million mark, you can retire and live off the dividends. This means that you would simply take off those Bitcoins and reinvest them in a dividend fund and live off the dividends with 500k plus in yearly income, passive yearly income. So that's wealthy anywhere in the world. At any rate, you would earn roughly $45,000 a month, so I think this is more than enough for anyone to live comfortably at that point. So at the current exchange rate, you would need to invest roughly $8,500 until Bitcoin reaches the $10 million mark. I am aware that some people might not be able to invest that much, but that's what the math tells us. Still, $8,500 is probably something that most people can come up with if they needed to do so. So the question is, when will Bitcoin reach the $10 million mark? Well, according to most technical analysts and pundits, I would say that the consensus is that we will see $20 to $50k per Bitcoin in 2019. However, that's beside the point in my view. Let me point out a few facts that will make you realize how valuable Bitcoin truly is. First of all, you need to realize that 21 million Bitcoins is the maximum amount of Bitcoins that are going to ever exist in this planet. If you divide that figure by the number of people alive today, then that means that there's less than 0.003 Bitcoins per human alive. This is why simply owning 0.28 Bitcoins today puts you in the top 1% of the whole planet. Today, 0.28 Bitcoins are worth approximately $3,000. In fact, Bitcoin is so scarce that even just a tiny fraction will make you a 1%er. Many people think that they've missed the Bitcoin rally. However, in reality, I believe that we're just getting started. If you look around, nobody is talking about Bitcoin. in the grand scheme of things at least. So, if Bitcoin goes on to become the world's reserve currency, then this means that Bitcoin still has much room to run. It is estimated that today there are roughly 10 to 20 million people who own Bitcoin. That is less than 0.5% of the world's total population. So, believe it or not, you are part of a very select group of people. You are the very early adopter. And I think that in the future, people will look back and wish they had bought Bitcoin at today's prices. This is why we see so many billionaires and institutions that are accumulating as much Bitcoin as they can. Believe it or not, the big boys are actually accumulating incredible amounts of Bitcoin today. For example, there's billionaire Tim Draper, who thinks that Bitcoin will go to at least 250K. There's also Jack Dorsey, who is reportedly buying as much Bitcoin as he possibly can every week on his account. Then there's also Jack Ma from Alibaba, who also says he's a big fan of Bitcoin. Even Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan is now starting to realize that Bitcoin is here to stay. And even his own son holds Bitcoin. It is also worth noting that Warren Buffett is invested in JP Morgan and that JP Morgan is also investing in the cryptocurrency space. So in a way, Warren Buffett is also in the cryptocurrency space. Moving on, there's also Eric Schmidt from Google who says that Bitcoin has quote-unquote enormous value. Also, the Winklevoss twins reportedly own roughly 1% of the world's Bitcoins. So, even Peter Thiel, the founder of PayPal, thinks that Bitcoin is being underestimated. There's even a mystery billionaire who wants to buy 25% of all the Bitcoins in existence. So just think about that. Even North Korea is amassing Bitcoin in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Moreover, also the Saudis are rumored to be accumulating Bitcoin as well. In fact, it was recently disclosed that Iran was mining Bitcoins in mosques. Furthermore, the publicly traded Grayscale, ticker GBTC, is reportedly buying 21% of all newly minted Bitcoin every day. Not to mention all the other countless cryptocurrency funds that are popping up and are starting to accumulate as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. Even Fidelity, which is an old school US financial institution, is now going to offer Bitcoin to its clients. So as you can see, there are countless billionaires and financial entities that are buying Bitcoin or that are at least aware of Bitcoin's potential. The reality is that they probably realize that Bitcoin is far superior to gold, silver, and all the other fiat currencies. They know that if the fiat system collapses, we won't go back to the gold standard. Chances are we will go to the new Bitcoin standard. And if that happens, then Bitcoin can quickly go to even $100 million. Personally, I plan on documenting this Bitcoin journey in my channel. So if that's your cup of coffee, don't forget to subscribe for more market analysis. Because I know that this can sound a little bit crazy, but you can run the numbers for yourself. If Bitcoin becomes the world's reserve currency, then the upside potential is massive. We are talking about life-changing numbers. This is why I've been recommending to my friends and family to buy as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. I think that $10,000 or $12,000 are small potatoes compared to Bitcoin's potential. This is why I believe that Bitcoin will vastly outperform all other asset classes available today. This is why just 0.28 Bitcoins can potentially be worth so much more in the future. I know of many people who message me telling me that they own hundreds of thousands of dollars in Bitcoin and they are holding at least until the $1 million Bitcoin. Aside from those everyday people, realize that there are billionaires who own thousands of Bitcoins, and there are also funds who own thousands of Bitcoins, not to mention many other millionaires who are accumulating Bitcoin just in case the bull thesis plays out. Also remember that there are roughly 4 million Bitcoins lost by people who didn't care about storage when the price was at around 10 cents or less. So the actual supply of Bitcoins is probably much less than 21 million, and this is just even more bullish for Bitcoin. This is why I think this is just the beginning. After all, very few people today actually own Bitcoin. That is less than 0.5% of the world's total population. The rest of the world is not even paying attention. This is why we have such a fantastic opportunity today. This is not to mention the fact that Bitcoin mining supply is going to be cut in half by mid 2020. That alone should cause Bitcoin to double from today's levels easily. However, in reality, whenever this has happened before, price of Bitcoin has at least grown by a factor of 10. So, $10,000 today could easily end up being worth 100K or more by next year. As far as I know, there's nowhere else where you can get those types of returns. When people realize how few Bitcoins are out there, then people will rush to buy, and they will quickly find out that there are very few Bitcoins available. Currently, we're less than 320 days until that happens. This is why I strongly recommend you at least consider buying some Bitcoin today. Once Bitcoin starts skyrocketing once again, more people will begin asking about Bitcoin. However, once people start seeing Bitcoin make new all-time highs, they will realize that Bitcoin is truly a scarce revolutionary asset. And I think that at this point people will start getting into a buying frenzy. Unfortunately, by then, very few people will be able to buy not even 1/10 of a Bitcoin. Even Charlie Lee, the creator of Litecoin, says that you should own at least one Bitcoin before owning any Litecoin. As you know, Litecoin is considered the silver of the cryptocurrency space, because Bitcoin is regarded as digital gold, so is Litecoin regarded as digital silver. So even Charlie Lee realizes that Bitcoin is a must own before anything else in the cryptocurrency space. And this is why even owning 1/10 of a Bitcoin is going to be more than most people ever own in the future. Ever. This is why I think it is actually even irresponsible not to put at least $1,000 in Bitcoin just in case this happens. Even 0.01 Bitcoins will be more than triple than the average person will be able to hold in the future. This is why even just a $100 investment in Bitcoin today will put you far ahead from everyone else in the future. Still, if you buy Bitcoin, you have to be willing to write it down to zero and not even flinch. That's the level of conviction that you need. So yes, I will answer this question definitely. You should own as much Bitcoin as you can, at least up to 0.77 Bitcoins. After all, if the investment thesis plays out, this will be enough to put you among the wealthiest people on the planet. Realize that in the future, it will be simply impossible for people to own even fragments of Bitcoin. I think that by the time Bitcoin breaks $20,000, then the public will start chasing again. After that, the path to the $100,000 Bitcoin is very doable. In fact, once we get there, I think the road to 1 million is much shorter than most people think, because by then people will start realizing that Bitcoin is actually a world currency. So put differently, by the time Bitcoin reaches the market cap of gold, just that will put it at the $1 million mark. Also realize that by then Bitcoin will be a world currency and will be fighting for dominance against other fiat currencies in the world like the euro and the dollar. I think that by then it will only be a matter of time until people realize that Bitcoin is actually far superior to any other currency in the world. This means that after that, the path towards the $10 million Bitcoin is only a matter of time. This is why merely owning 0.77 Bitcoins today will translate into over $7 million eventually. With that amount, you'll be able to live comfortably off the dividends for the rest of your life. And I personally see this happening in the next 5 to 20 years. In fact, in my opinion, the $100,000 Bitcoin is almost guaranteed. So even if you're not a believer, you have to realize that Bitcoin can easily 10x from here. That's why even the New York Stock Exchange owner predicts that Bitcoin will become the first worldwide cryptocurrency. This is why there are so many institutions and billionaires out there accumulating as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. And this is why I think that $100,000 Bitcoin is almost a mathematical certainty. The fact that we are already seeing people talking about issuing bonds on Bitcoin is enormous. This is because the debt markets are at least 10 times bigger than the equity markets. And I think this will open up Bitcoin to vast amounts of money. This alone signals to me that there's about to be massive demand for Bitcoin in the not too distant future. So I do think that everyone should have at least some Bitcoin in their investment portfolios. After all, even if just 1% of your portfolio is in Bitcoin and it goes up by 250%, then that would mean that you are more than doubling your investment portfolio with minimal risks. So to answer the question of how much Bitcoin you should own, I would say strive to at least own 0.77 Bitcoins. If you can get 1 Bitcoin, that would be fantastic. However, even if you don't have the funds to do that, just 0.28 Bitcoins will put you in the top 1% of the world. That alone should be more than enough. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.